good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, we are live, and I'm super excited about what we are getting ready to do on tonight on this edition of He Talks Live. Listen, I am your host, Kenyon R. Dudley, and I'm live right now from Central Market in Dallas, Texas. Sitting at the table, got the table set, and I'm ready for my bro to come and have a discussion with me on tonight. Tonight, we're talking about trials and triumphs, and we got a good story for you. We got a good conversation. So, listen, I want you to tell all of your friends, tell all of your family that we are live. Tell all of your brothers we are live right now, getting ready to have this discussion. There are millions of men who have this one issue. You know what that issue is? They struggle in silence alone with whatever their issue might be, right? They struggle in silence alone. But tonight, we're going to talk about what it means to have good connection, have good brotherhood, have a good support system. And we want, hopefully, for some young man, some boy who watches this broadcast tonight to realize that they are one, not alone in whatever they are fighting through, pushing through, and whatever dream they are trying to attain. And then number two, we want to make sure that you understand that no matter what you're experiencing and going through right now, there is an expected end for you, and God has something in store for you. That dream, that purpose that He's placed inside of you that you cannot let go. Hopefully, by the end of tonight, you will be encouraged not to let go, but to keep pushing forward until you move from trial to triumph. I want you to stick around, share, tag, like, and share. We'll be right back. The show starts right now.
There's no one better in my factory. There's no one better.
Hey, again, good evening, everyone. For those of you who are just checking in, I am Kenyon R. Dudley. I'm your host for this evening. We're about to get ready to have a good conversation here on He Talks Live. Listen, for those of you who have been following this platform, following my platform, the things that God has had me doing over the last couple of months, thank you. Thank you so much for being a great supporter, and thank you so much for being a part of all of the discussions that we are having right here on this particular platform. For many of you, you know that my background is in broadcast and journalism. I got a little mixture there with psychology and also media and entertainment. And so I love having these live broadcasts. It's right down my alley. And I know that my special guest would have to say the same. He is in that vein as well. I'm getting ready to introduce him in just a moment. But listen, I want you to tag, like, and share. Hey, what's going on to you? To my uncle, I see you on. There you go, Raymond Carr. I see you. Good evening to you. I hope that you're having a good day, man. And hello to my wife and all of those others who are coming on. Listen, I'm not going to belabor the time because this discussion I've been looking forward to since I invited him to come and talk to me. He actually was on one of my live broadcasts called The Gifted School, that series that we had a few months ago, and he kind of just knocked everybody out with what God, had him to share. But tonight, I wanted him to come and specifically talk to the brothers, to share his testimony, to share who he is and what God is doing in his life, and how he's been able to come through many trials to different triumphs in his life. Listen, I'm going to officially introduce him. He is a creative entrepreneur, And those of you who follow me on my page, I posted it up there. He's an author, he's an artist and an actor. He has been able to work in some capacity with MTV, BET, Country Music Television, Seacrest Studios. I mean, you name it, the guy has had his hand in it. He has held strategic operating positions with the Recording Academy. For those of you in the music industry, you already know that means the Grammys, right? That's the Grammys. But this is what I love about him. He's so humble and down to earth, but at the same time, this dude is the 2023 Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award recipient for President Joe Biden. Okay, y'all need to just go ahead and give me some fire symbols and emojis right now before he even comes up to the stage. I mean, this guy is just amazing. And also, he's a CEO of RG Media Affiliates, so on and so forth. It's so many things that my brother does. But I'm going to let him tell his story tonight. We're going to have a good conversation right here at the table. Y'all, help me welcome over in the chat. Come on, give me some clapping hands, give me some fire symbols. Help me welcome my good brother, Dr. Robert Gould. What's going on, brother?
What's up? What's up? What's up, bro? What's good?
Man, I
He
told
talks
you.
live. He talks live. He talks live. He talks live.
I know, man. Listen. I told you in the green virtual green room, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That I was looking forward to this conversation. I pushed through the day. All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
I got in my truck. I sped all the way down the street to get over because I'm trying to do something kind of new,
No,
kind of
I feel it, man.
swanky,
I
you
feel it.
know,
I feel
get
it.
out here, and get some good scenery behind me and everything. But I
Yes.
wanted to get in place. I could not wait to
Mm.
get in place and have this conversation with you, bro. Hey, what's going on, Joshua? Thank you for coming in. Tag, like, and share as we set this thing up. So, because I know that you have a testimony, you have a story, but
Mhm.
listen, what you are doing right now, it doesn't come easy. Okay. And I'm sure we're gonna get into that in just a moment, but it does not come easy. And
Yes.
so I was looking forward to you having this conversation with me. Number one, because I know that there are a lot of brothers out there
Mm,
that truthfully are secretly pressing through,
mm,
right? Whatever their struggle, their issue is, right?
mhm.
They're secretly going through it right now. They don't feel
Yeah.
that they can go to anyone. They don't feel that they can talk about it. As a matter of fact, the society that we live in right now, bro, in America, you're almost shunned if, especially a black man, if you come out and say, I'm having thoughts or issues or problems or I'm struggling in this situation or I'm trying to
Mm,
get this thing off the ground and it's
mm.
frustrating me,
Yes.
right? You're
Yes.
almost shunned or shot down, if you will. If you come out and try to be authentic about how you're feeling, where your mental state is. And so I know that nothing that you do has come easy. So,
Mm.
first of all, introduce yourself the way that you want to. I've done my best, but introduce
Oh,
yourself to the group, those who are watching in, and let's jump into this discussion.
man, listen, I love Pastor Ken, man. We should just all go crazy in the chat one time for Pastor Ken, man. I love him so much, his energy, and
Appreciate you,
so
bro.
honored, my brother. Thank you, my brother. Not just a friend, but to be able to call you brother, man, is an honor. So I'm so grateful for just our connection and God's strategic alignment for our pathways to cross. And so I'm super grateful for that. Super grateful to be here tonight with all you incredible men and women. I know we have some boss women watching us tonight, and you better own that because not just behind every good man. Come on, I know Pastor Ken is married, but not just behind every good man, but to the side, in front, in life and in journey. None of us would be here without incredible women too. So I give it up to all the incredible women who are watching us too, and we welcome you here too as well. Pastor Kenyon did such a good job introducing me. I don't know if there's much more to say. The reality is I'm just somebody who wants to be used by God. And I am strategically every day I get up on a mission. And that mission is to exceed abundantly above all the expectation that I could imagine over my life. And really, that is, through the instrument of me being able to use my gifts and talents, in a technical standpoint. I've been so fortunate to start out as a creative, and I've been fortunate to be a child actor, and I performed on Broadway and be mentored by some incredible people, some OGs in the game like Ruby D, and some incredible people as an actor, and then just transitioned to incredible collegiate standpoint where I attended Berklee College of Music. And while I was in Berklee College of Music, I had incredible opportunities, performed across the world, did some incredible things, and also had the ability to intern at some incredible companies such as the Grammys, as Pastor Kenya has mentioned, then transitioned to intern at BMI, and then didn't even realize that I was being set up in that moment to go from being an intern, serving one of the top executives at the company, to then transitioning to graduate the next year and walking off of the stage, eating ramen noodles in my dorm room, to going to be the youngest executive hired at BMI in the Southeast region, operating out of their Atlanta office. And so literally, I went from eating ramen noodles to being catapulted into this realm where the man inside of me had to mature so quickly, because I went literally from, the little leagues, the JV squad, to varsity immediately overnight. And I began to handle intellectual properties and portfolios in a multi-billion-dollar organism and company. And so the trajectory of that just took on a life of its own and allowed me to start programming and using my background in intellectual properties and in programming to start RG Media affiliates and in being full-time entrepreneurship. And I'm so excited to say to date, we empower, equip communities in the public and private sector with strategic programming. And literally just in the past 3 years have been able to create programming that's transcended the lives of thousands of high school students in municipalities in public and private sectors across the Southeast. And so I'm super honored and proud of that at RG Media affiliates and what we've been able to do, and just excited about where we're headed, but most excited than all of those things to be sitting here with my brother tonight on HETALKS Live and just unleashing warriors. And I just believe that as we transition in whatever first kind of direction Pastor Kenya wants to take us, I believe that, bro, tonight for you, I'm talking to you who are looking at this screen, that there is something so profound for you. And I use just that moment of sharing my trajectory at being the youngest, being the only, being the first, being a product of a single family household, a mother who was resilient and strong and dedicated to raising not just a person, but a man of impact for the kingdom and for the world. I stand before you tonight to encourage you, those single moms that are out there, those people who are struggling and trying to figure out, how do I exist in creativity and in business realm? I stand here tonight to tell you that what is for you, and you're not going to be rejected from it. You're not going to be denied from it. And today, my brother, you don't have to hide in it. You can stand boldly in it, because who you've been called to be, nobody can take away. So I'm excited about it. And let's go, Pastor Ken. Let's go. How you want to swing, man?
Man, I'm telling you, first of all, I'm glad that you set it up that way, because that's exactly what I want to talk about tonight. I am going to do my best to hit every corner that I feel that God has given me. But that's exactly how I want it to start, for people to hear how you got started and to hear what you're doing, what you have your hand in, because I think a lot of brothers feel like, I have this dream, I have these gifts, but there were things in life that I was not able to accomplish early on or whatnot. And because I was not able to accomplish it, then I may never be able to get to it. I may never be able to fulfill that dream or that call. Some brothers watching may feel like, hey, I'm late to the party, because I was in the midst of so many things early on in my life that I'm kind of late. I'm kind of late to the party. So now I'm just now coming into Christ. I'm just now trying to figure this thing out, and really kind of feel like, do I have enough time?
That's right.
to even uh, move in what God is calling me to do. Let's start off by asking this because I see your mom is in the chat. Miss Carol, thank you so much for being here. I am honored for you to be watching, and I promise you, Miss Carol, I am gonna get some what they call those things, some noise, quiet. I promise you, for you, I'm gonna make sure I do it. So there's no noise in this background. I'm trying to be fancy to
Oh my.
give a new look. I love it though. I love it. I love it. But
Yes.
your mother is here,
She
and
is. What's
you
up,
talked
mom?
a bit about her and how she poured into you and
Yes.
set you up, to be great in what you're doing. And I had a
Yes.
mother just like that. I don't know if she's watching. She usually jumps on, but I
Yes.
had a mother just like her. My trajectory was kind of like yours.
Yes.
Went to LA, did
Yes.
the whole acting thing,
Right.
had feature films, did
Yes.
theater, all of that
Yes.
stuff. I did theater in Vegas. You did theater on Broadway.
Yes.
That's one of my dreams. We'll get there one day.
Yes.
But, so I get the trajectory you're talking about. Now, for many people who are watching, they may not understand what type of warfare it takes
Yes.
to go down that road and be in entertainment and already be a young man who's on fire, who knows who he is and
Right.
has a strong backing and all of that. How did you, number one, aside from Mother Carol, how did you find out who you were and how were you so confident in that so early on? And
Mhm.
let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, it's super interesting because I'll be coming up. So in 2 months, I'll be 31 and I'm 30 currently. And, it's something different. All my bros out there, 30, it just hits a little different, right? Like it's something that comes around that you just feel like, is the earth turning a little differently? The conversations that, you didn't have
Right.
before, you start thinking about life and family in a whole different way. It's just interesting, and I've been sharing that a lot with my friends and my bros too, just intimately. Like it's definitely a switch, and the more I walk into that boldly into this next decade of my life, the more I've been asking myself like this same exact question: not just how are you who you are, but why are you who you are, and
Yeah.
how did you become who you are. And
Right.
so it's really interesting, and the more I lean into it and think about it, I 100%, I'm a church kid. I can't hide it. So, I do believe that. I do believe that some things are unimaginable, unthinkable. That is the divine entity of God who puts his stamp and seal on all of us and grants us all access to divine um, exponential favor. But what stops us from really realizing it are all the things that we encounter on our own. So I believe that some of it is not, a lot of it, probably 90% of it, is just God's hand and thumbprint and fingerprint on my life. And the other 10% is really structuring daily this idea set of who you can become. And one of the reasons why I really have to give credit to my mom while she's on here and watching, and I would say this even if she wasn't in the room, is, in very unorthodox belief, my mom didn't really believe in raising a child. Like she believed
I
in
get
raising
that.
somebody of impact and who's
Right.
going to impact the world. And so I've always been the only in a lot of situations, whether I was in theater, whether I was only male. In most of my background, I was raised in suburban neighborhoods where I was only African American, young person, in work environments, in tables that I am in regions that I service, particularly across the Southeast. A lot of the times I am the only African American or the youngest person walking into the room. And I believe that God saw that. And it had to be instilled early inside of me that you are not becoming who you are when you walk in the room. Every day you
Mm.
get up, you are making a decision of how you are going to impact who you will be for the next 10 years, for the next 20 years. And so at 5 and at 6, and while my friends at 7, at 10, while they were talking about, all the latest and what was going on in the cartoons and different things, like I was having conversations about politics and people and the world and navigating. And, you know, I really credit a lot of that to my mother putting me in an environment that didn't make me grow up quickly, but it made me recognize who I was early. And because of that, that birthed this idea in sector and saying to me, well, at 21, why can't I be an executive at BMI? You know, at 20, you know, why couldn't I, you know, be working for the Grammys? At 22, why couldn't I launch, you know, my own company and be doing what I'm doing globally? Those idea sets. And what I do want to encourage, particularly our brothers who are watching here, is it is never too early to plant those deposits into your children. It is so important that at an early age, they don't just see the possibilities, but they understand the limitlessness of who they can become and who they are now, currently. And that's the game changer. And, you know, just to be real talk, Pastor Ken, in a lot of other cultures, particularly in the African-American culture, we have this idea set that I believe is rich because of our resiliency, but has literally brought us also to a level of being captive of our own limits because of our resilient history. And so a lot of times we have to relinquish ourselves of those things and idea sets of, you know, what can happen, and just start putting it in the atmosphere that this is what will happen. You can have generational wealth because we will set up the proper pipeline. You can in real estate early because I'm going to make investments and trust in these different setups to ensure that you have access, you know, to wealth. So these things are not far-fetched now. They are just about tangible things making them happen. So, you know, Holy Ghost fingerprint on my life for sure. And then the exposure and the tenacity of people depositing in my environment. And let me drop this really quick, and maybe it'll be a bridge to something. Was so interesting, and I use my mom as a caveat, and then the people that she put around me, because she was a single parent, but she also made sure that there were strong men around my life that I could emulate and be a part of, and, you know, really be tapped into. And my incredible mentor, who was a father figure to me, one of the most incredible men I believe to walk this earth. His name was Larry Dingle, an incredible attorney, and happened also to be Tyler Perry's attorney, Coca-Cola's attorney, was the first African-American clerk in the city of Atlanta, just a profound man. And with all of his profound nature, like, one of the greatest things that he would say to me is, Robert, you just need to be in the room. And once you are in the room, everything that you need, because who you are, it will show up. And he also came from, you know, a single family environment, was raised by his grandmother and women around him. And I found that so profound that he would remind me of that constantly, that if you get in the room, everything that you are meant to be will show up. So stop trying to get in the room. Just come in the room as who you are, no matter at what stage in life you're at. Everybody on here is not in their 30s. Everybody's not in their 20s, but you're in your 60s. You're in your 70s. I double dog dare you. Just get in the room with what you got. Everything else is going to take to flight.
You said so much here. I'm over here like, okay, I'm at Central Market. I can't run around and fall
Just
out
do it,
like
bro.
I do.
Just do it.
I mean, because, you know, I will do it, right? So okay, so you said so much, and I hope my brothers are really taking note right now, because you're dropping some gems. Number one, I heard you say that it's Holy Ghost fingerprint. I love that. I love that. I love that, because I know that. I understand that. Some things just cannot be explained, right? Because it's God who he touched your life. He touched you, and he touched you early. And guess what? And you went with it. You know, I think that's one of the greatest lessons that we as men, we want to learn and take with us and teach our sons and teach our daughters even, that when God touches you the first time,
Come on.
right?
Come
When he
on.
touches you the first time, don't war with him. Don't kick against the prick. And
Yes.
I know this because I was 6. I was that kid, 5 years old, having a supernatural encounter with God. And people ask me, how did you do this so soon and so early? How did you mature so early and all of these things?
Mhm.
And the truth of the matter is I go back to 5,
Wow.
when I had a supernatural encounter sitting on a rock in the middle of a drug infested neighborhood
Oof.
where my mother lived at the time with my 2 sisters.
Wow.
And They found me in a trance on a rock.
Wow.
I had wandered out of the apartment. So they're, if you could imagine, they're going crazy, losing their mind for however long it was they were looking for me.
Wow.
And they found me across the street on the rock in a trance. And I attribute that moment to, that's when God touched me. That's when I feel like, it sounds like a movie, but literally the sky opened. I felt like I received my call from God. And I was never the same. I gave my yes to him the first time. I did not kick against the prick. And so your first point was on point,
Right.
because uh, if you want to, if you want to uh, uh, walk into the fullness of what God has for you, I'm talking to the brothers. If you want to walk into the fullness of what God has for you and your family, the first thing you got to do is, when you sense him touching you
Come on.
and pulling you in a direction, you got to go with the flow.
Yes.
You got to go with the flow. So
Yes.
that, I love what you said there, and then you moved into talking about how your mother was wise enough to pour into you herself, but to also bring you into great exposure, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
dare I say this? And I think Miss Carol is still on. Dare I say she was wise enough and selfless enough,
Enough. Yes. Yes.
because
Woo.
we deal with a culture where
Yes.
sometimes parents, let's just get real, sometimes parents are so busy trying to get it and make it themselves, they
Yes.
forget to pour into that child, pour into that man child, especially that
Yes.
son that's coming up. And so she was wise enough and selfless enough to put you in rooms and in places under the tutelage of great men,
Yeah.
and thus you emulated what you saw.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
I can't stress how imperative it is to put our young men in the midst of what we want to see come out of them,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and not only that, but I love what your mentor said. And I might butcher it, but I want you to
Yeah.
remind me of what he said.
Yeah.
But he said, "You just got to get in the room.
Yeah. Just be in the room.
Just
Just be
be
in the
in the
room.
room."
Just be in
Just
the
be in
room.
the. But okay. So when you said that though, because here's for me as a young man coming up, I will be honest. There was a season in my life where I felt like, okay, I'm seeing all these other brothers shapeshift, if you
Right.
will.
Yes.
They're doing and being whatever they need to be to
Right.
get the favor,
Right.
and I just wasn't willing to do that,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so when you say your mentor said, just be in the room, what I heard was, when you get the opportunity to come into something that's great,
Mhm.
be who you are.
Right.
Be who you are.
Yeah.
Um, to me, how important is that, not just for young men, but can you talk about that from the perspective of seasoned men as well, elder men? Because there's some brothers right
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
If we be honest, come on, let's be real. There's some brothers right now in their 30s, 40s,
Yeah.
50s,
Yeah.
60s,
Yeah.
right? And they're still shape shifting.
Yes.
How important is it for men to find out who they are and to be who they are
Yeah.
in whatever season, whatever moment that God is calling them into?
Well, it's so interesting, Pastor Kim, because the reality is, I think so many people get frustrated because they want to put parameters around the type of room they are in. Let's start there first. They want to decide how the room is set up, how everything is defined in here, what I need to look like, what awards do I need to have on my shelf, what my resume needs to look like, what am I wearing, what suit am I putting on. But if you just came how you were, you would understand that what is meant for you is already set up and waiting on you. I mean, biblically, it just is real. It talks about it. It says, I prepareth a table. Why? Let's stop right there. I don't even want to go. And everybody's like, oh, in front of my enemies. So he's going to make me shine in front of my enemies. Let's stop right there. The fact that he puts into verb, into action, saying, I prepareth the table, meaning I have prepared the room. I have set the tone already. So when you walk in, baby, trying to bring something that's not needed to the room, you're messing up already what he has already prepared for you to be there.
Wow.
You're missing out on your moment. And that's what I believe, Pastor Kenyon, that my mentor was sharing with me. He was saying, Robert, listen, if you only understood that, I am from, the hills. I am literally from like a guy who was born and raised, and still he went white rabbit hunting still. And this is a guy who was literally an attorney, well-known attorney all across Atlanta, to sit in his presence like $1,000 an hour you're paying. Like, it's remarkable. And he told me the value of my time is simply because I show up in the room being who I am. I'm not changing who I am. I'm not compromising who I am. I'm not compromising those things that have made me who I am. I am showing up. And because I am in the room, whatever is supposed to meet me will meet me. And some of you still may be scratching your head a little bit because you're like, okay, that's easier said than done because I'm not qualified to be in the room. I don't, it doesn't look like I have the social economic class or status or environment or, a lot that we don't talk about as brothers particularly is there is a hierarchy too with us in ego.
Yeah, for sure.
And big, and it's really big. And so one of the issues that comes oftentimes is that your ego is so big, because Pastor Kenyon was talking about, what about if you're seasoned? What about if you're in this next dawn of your life? Your ego may be so big right now, it is keeping you from being uncomfortable in the best way so that somebody can come and take you to the next level. So that next moment can be released and unlocked for you. You are so stuck in trying to be fixed up and have on this armor and be so tough on the outside, but you got to relinquish that, bro. I'm speaking to my big bros tonight. You got to relinquish that, because that idea set, that weight and that barrier of trying to have it all together at 50, trying to have it all together at 60, trying to have it all together at 70, instead of you leaning in to the gift that's over your life and has already been predestined before you were even born. If you would lean into that thing, you could become exactly who you are desiring, exactly who you want to be. How do I know this is possible? Because you look at great men literally in the world. Like, a lot of people like to talk about, this idea of saying, oh, I have to start earlier. Oh, I have to have a timeline. But think about all these incredible men. I want you to think about, really, when did Steve Jobs hit the precipice of who he was in the earth? A lot of people talk about this geeky, slinky, a kid and young person who was selling and doing these capital venture, plans of this idea of, if I revolutionize the walkable computer, if I revolutionize the idea of the internet, a lot of people think, it was just the kid in the garage. But the reality is, people don't know he didn't get in the meat of the intellectual properties of the Wall Street trading of all of that well into his 40s, well into, the precipice of his 50s. You want to talk about somebody like Walt Disney, who literally had a dream. I mean, can I talk to my creators for a second? My entrepreneurs in here for a second.
Go ahead.
Do you know the magnitude, my bros, of who Walt Disney was and still is today, and is no longer here physically on earth? The manifestation of his idea set was, how can I literally creatively make worlds for families, and then make worlds that are affordable for people to escape from? So everybody might not be able to go see the latest high-tech thing or visit Asia or Australia or these different worlds. But he said, I can create a place. I can create an experience where families, where people from all generations and backgrounds can come and gather. This guy was literally, before even Walt Disney World got up, he was way in his 50s. He was way in the precipice of his 60s, and the dawning of where people would say it was time to retire. But yet the mission, the vision, the things of what was able to manifest were so big. So what you got to do is you got to readjust your thinking tonight. You ought to just hit a reset button on your mentality and your dreams and begin to dream different. Because the moment you release yourself of a timeline is the moment you open up the possibilities that are for your life and for you to walk in the fulfillment of. And so, look at it. Don't just hold it and say, oh, well, I'm praying and it's just God. Look at the case studies. If he can do it for Steve Jobs, why wouldn't he do it for you? If he could do it for Walt Disney, why wouldn't he do it for you? If he could do it for Mark Zuckerberg, why couldn't he do it for you? And I want to strategically put that out there for all of my Caucasian brothers. Now let's go to the other side. Come on, if he could do it for the incredible individuals who have paved the way, who have done things remarkable. Look at the owners of Black Enterprise magazine. Look at the first CEOs. Look at Barack Obama. Look at these incredible people who you might be in the public sector or the private sector. If he can do it for all these incredible men, why wouldn't he do it for you?
But that's the question I think a lot of brothers are having to answer right now. If he's doing it for these guys, for these cats, like why wouldn't he
Why?
do it for me?
Right.
But I think you said something here, and I'm gonna put it back up here because I want to make sure we drive that home. That it's time to let go of the ego and reset your mind, or your mindset. I think the paradigm shift, bro, can only come if we're willing to put ego aside.
Right. That's right.
Right. If we're willing to put the ego down. And let me tell you, my wife is on here. She'll let me know if I'm lying. But I literally live my life constantly crucifying the ego.
Oof.
It is necessary for the oil on my life to flow. It is necessary for the heights that we are ascending to. It is necessary for the things that we are doing right now. It's necessary for the level of warfare that comes our way just because we dare to dream and move in the things of God. So I have to die to my ego every single day. And one of the ways, and I'll ask you personally, how do you do that as well? How do you make it not a ritual, but how do you make it a thing where you die to your ego every day, every week, every month to make sure that you don't stagnate? I know one of the things for me is I literally keep myself in education.
Yes.
Right. So it's not enough for me to get the bachelor's. I got to go get the master's. Right. It's not enough for me to get the master's. I got to go now and work on the doctorate. Right. It's not enough for me. And for somebody else, that might not be your regimen. But for me, I need to forever be a student. And
Right.
I've heard people say, Kenyon, like you drop gems and you do this and you do that. All of that is flattering. But at the end of the day, I have to forever be learning. That's why I love these
Yes.
broadcasts, because it allows me to not just talk, but it allows me to listen,
To listen.
to learn, and to glean. That's one of the ways I'm killing my ego so that I can continue to grow. But what about you? What's one of the ways that you keep that ego in check so that you can keep growing as a man of God?
Yeah, it's easy for me, bro. It's exposure. Exposure. I constantly put myself in an environment, in a predicament where I have to force myself to do something that I would not typically do. And the best leaders to me are ones who are vulnerable enough to be exposed to what they don't know, and be vulnerable enough to be exposed to the possibilities of what could be. To be vulnerable enough to accept those things that are not perfect in their lives and say, hey, I really need to be strengthened in this area. And I need to surround myself with not just people, because a lot of times we like to lean on saying, oh, I just need to be around a new group of people. I need to be around, the next value of men. It's this trend right now, particularly in like all the dating shows and everything, that's like high value men, high value women. Like it's like this chase of saying, I have to be around high value people. That frustrates me so much, because I'm like, the mere fact that you get up every day, you are valuable. Like the scientific molecular structure of your body, you are value. You are an IP. You are intellectual property. Just you breathing breath, you bring value to life and to earth. So I hate that word of high value. So the reality is like, I don't try to put myself around valuable people. I try to figure out how can I add value to situations that seem like they are lacking value. I lead that as a leader too. I think everything has value, but I believe there are certain situations, particularly as a consultant, when I get paid paid to do is to go into companies and into environments and the situations to see where is the value in this moment not being maximized. How can we shift the narrative? How can we portray this? How can we, infiltrate this system with incredible increased awareness of the value of whatever it is, whether it's a product, whether it's a campaign, whether it's programming, whatever it is, to really meet the need. And so that is so important. You got to begin to expose yourself so that you can begin to bring value to environments that you wouldn't even expect that, you would be in. And the more you get into that space, the more you don't rely on, your ego and more on your ability just to show up into the room, the more you're going to find that the room is going to welcome you. You're not even going to have to put down your credentials. You're not even going to have to say who you are, because the room's going to go, wow, we need him here. We need him here. Like, just him being who he is, we need his value, to level us up. So exposure is really important to me. I preach that. I believe it is so important. How I keep my ego in check is constantly putting myself in uncomfortable situations. I think as men, that's something we struggle with a lot because we love to have it together. We love to appear and make sure that, we are not weak, but your weakness is your ability not to allow yourself to become who you're supposed to be. Your weakness is you right now not allowing yourself to become who you're supposed to be. And so you got to release that so that your weakness becomes your strength. You not knowing who you are at in this moment, you and your uncertainty will allow you to be curious enough, allow you to be bold enough to be in spaces that you normally wouldn't be in. And because you submit yourself to that space where you normally wouldn't be in, things will open up, things will happen for you. I want to encourage you really quick here, never in my wildest dreams would I expect, at this stage, at this time, to be receiving an honorary doctorate in this space. I would never expect it, at 29 that I would be receiving this from North Carolina University. I wouldn't be expecting it. I wouldn't be thinking about it. But the reality is me being present in spaces and showing up, telling my story just authentically the way I've been telling my story, me sharing my journey the way I've been sharing my journey. I literally got a phone call one day and the institution said, hey, we want to give you an honorary doctorate while you're here. And I was just amazed by it. And in a lot of thought process, I didn't feel worthy enough of it, Pastor Kenyon, because I come from a background of strong entrepreneurs, like put in the work, put in the time, sow it, do it. And a lot of me thought kind of self-sabotage, which some of you may be dealing with on here, self-sabotaging, saying, oh, I'm not old enough to receive this, or, oh, I still need to put in so much time to have this recognition. And you might be at that point in life in a different space. Oh, my time is past. Oh, this time is over. But if you accept those things that are good, that are coming to you, and release your idea of self-sabotage, you'll begin to open up so many more doors that are meant for your life. So, I hope that's it. Exposure. Don't self-sabotage yourself and allow yourself to be uncomfortable. Bro, you got to get uncomfortable to go to the next level.
Man, y'all put in the chat really quick. I'm getting uncomfortable. I put it in the chat. I'm getting uncomfortable. I mean, that's so true. What in the world? That's so true, man. I mean, okay, so guys, I hope you're getting this, okay? And listen, this is like life class. I really wanted this to be like life class for the men. We have life class for women all the time. I want to build something for the brothers, right? So be a lifelong learner. I like how Mama Carol put that. Be a lifelong learner. It's going to cause you to reinvent yourself. I'm going to put that back up there on the screen. I love that. Exposure. Well, Pastor Ken, I don't know where to go expose myself at. Eventbrite, look up something. There are things happening in your city every single week.
Yeah.
Right? Get clear on who you are, the space and the sector you're supposed to be in and being influencing, and go and find yourself in the vicinity of those type of people, right? Go and get uncomfortable. I absolutely love that. Listen, I got to bring this back up. You said be vulnerable enough to be exposed to what you don't know. Now I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you, bro, we that can be hard for a lot of brothers because
Woo!
I mean, American society has put it to where we must know at all times, and if we don't know, then what's wrong with your manhood? What's
Come
wrong with
on. Come on.
you? Who
Yeah.
are you? You're not able to properly lead the family or the organization or
Right.
what have you. But what you're saying something counterintuitive. You're saying be vulnerable enough to be exposed to what you don't know.
No.
Get out there on the ledge
Yes.
and figure out whether or not you can fly
That's it.
at that altitude.
That's it.
Yeah.
But think about it though. I mean, it's the law of science. It is scientific. You know, Newton's law says for every action, there is an equal reaction. And that it's just scientific. It's the reality. You can't expect a certain outcome until you put out something for an outcome to come back to you. You got to put force out there for force to come back to you. You got to take the step for the steps to be ordered for you. You know, like the steps are ordered already. But the reason why they are not ordered the way that you need to walk into them is because you haven't taken the first step to see the ledge that you need to step towards. You got to begin to take some steps, bro. You are being so stagnant. And the reality is this: there is no sense of time in eternity. There is no sense. And why do I keep going back? Because we're on this platform for kingdom men. You got to understand, baby, the moment that you sit and you rest on the destiny, bro, that is on your life, you are denying the kingdom of the gift that you're supposed to be here on earth. You are so worried about, you know, having everything so perfect and having everything so emboxed and engraved that you are missing out on the impact of the fulfillment of who you're supposed to be now. I heard somebody speak a couple of months ago at a conference and it blew my mind. They were like, everybody's waiting on eternity for the glory to fall. I want the glory to fall now. Like, I want to experience the goodness now. Like, I appreciate it, God. I thank you, big homie. I understand you're going to look out for me when I'm up there. But Lord, I want to see it now. And the only way you're going to see it now is by you taking the action steps to, you know, make it happen. So the reality is, bro, you got to get up. Bro, you can just do it. You can just do it and it can happen for you, but you got to take the step forward to make it happen. And your uncomfortability is exactly what Pastor Kenny, because I'm practical too. I like the tangible steps because it's not enough for us just to talk really big. You have to really be very singular every day you get up. For those who are struggling with stagnancy and doubt and fear and worry, I want you to begin to take very tangible steps. I want you to set a goal for yourself specifically. Say, hey, I struggle with being social. You got to be vulnerable with yourself because you may not be able to say it out loud. You may, you know, be the head of your house and you have 5, 6 kids and, you know, you have a wife and you have a family, or, you know, you may be holding up the shoulders of the world, a single young man who's trying to carry the world on his shoulders. You may not be able to speak it out loud, but I want you to do me a favor and be honest with yourself. What is your weakest link right now that's stopping you from going to where you need to go? Be honest with yourself, bro. And then say to yourself, here is where I am the weakest. How can I tap into defining that becoming a strength one step each day? How can I say, hey, I struggle at communication. What's that one social event, networking event I can find in my area to go to? What's that one, you know, live I can attend online like you're doing tonight? Where is, you know, that one moment that I can find, you know, something that will transition me, you know, put me into a different line of professionals, put me into a different line, you know, of opportunities? Or how about we don't just allow women to go to advancing conferences? How about you book the ticket? How about you go to a conference? How about you find an opportunity for you to advance yourself, man? How about you do that and allow that to be a jump starter? And if you start with that one thing, then you will allow yourself to open up the spaces for more opportunities to find you. Because again, like we said, once you get in the room, the opportunity has to find you, bro. It has to find you.
Once you get in the room, brothers, the opportunity has to find you. I
You.
like that. Thank you so much, Mama Carol. She says
My
people
mom
are
is on
in
here
the.
preaching too,
I
y'all.
love
She's on here
it.
preaching.
I love it. She can come preach anytime. Come on, just come on. Okay. She says people are in the unknown
Known
spaces
spaces.
waiting for you to show up. That
Love
is so good. So good. She also says God cues people in the rooms before you get there,
it. Yeah.
bringing people to you that are not in your current circle. So it's time to get
Get
out.
out. Get
It's time
out.
to get out, bro. And I'm looking at you like this, and then I'm looking outside like, okay, he preaching to me on this one, on this part right here. You know, sometimes you get in your bubble,
Mhm.
right? And it's necessary for you to keep getting out, keep
Yes.
getting out there. And I'll tell you, these broadcasts and these series and these things I've been doing, that's been part of my let me get out, right?
Yes.
Let
Yes.
me not. I know I have this broadcast
Yeah.
background. I know I have communications, in my
Mhm.
background. I know
Mhm.
I have these things, this love for communication and discussion. And so this is what I'm going to do. I may not can make it to everything around the city. We've got me and Jay. We've got so many things going on.
Right.
We're running business and all of
Right.
that. But I tell
Right.
you what, I'll reach out to those from my page. I'll create something and invite brothers like you,
Yes.
right? Sometimes you have to do that.
Create the moment. You got to create
Create.
the moment. Yeah.
Okay. So
You,
talk a little bit about that because I think okay, Holy Spirit led us there for a reason.
mhm.
How can we begin to create moments
Mhm.
where and not manufacturing it to where it's not authentic, but
Okay.
how can we hear Holy Spirit
Yeah.
with what we're doing, who we are, and how can we begin to create these spaces where we can thrive and move in who we are supposed to be in and invite people into those circles and in those times. How can we do that?
Yeah, Pastor King, you hit it on the head. I mean, authenticity is the first step. You have to literally lean into authentically who you are because so many times as men, we struggle with ego and these other layers that keep us bound from experiencing the full fulfillment of who we're supposed to be and the impact we're supposed to have in the world because we are trying to be someone else instead of leaning into the creative identity and manhood that God has put inside of you. You are a force alone. You don't need to be a replicated copy of someone else. So you really have to position yourself in order to really be triumphant in this idea of I am going to be authentically who I am. Now, that takes courage because there's a lot of people out here that we know say, well, I don't know who I am, or I struggle accepting who I am. And that is when you have to be, like we said, uncomfortable but realistic. And I want to lean into that for a second because in your uncomfortability, you have to be realistic about where you're at. Because a lot of times we set these goals for ourselves that we know are unattainable, and we set them strategically so we can self sabotage and allow for us to stay in this cycle and say, oh, next year we'll do this. Oh, in 2 years I'll do this. Or, oh, in 3 years. And that is why it is so important on the pursuit of your destiny, on the pursuit of your career trajectory, on the pursuit of you really being who you were called to be on this earth. You have to be very micro driven. You have to be very micro driven. You have to set small, attainable goals for you to be able to execute every single day. Because there will be a time when the bigger vision will be able to stand on its own. But until you can get to the bigger vision, the small bricks have to build the mansion. And you have to set those small micro steps every day. Just the idea set of today, I'm going to start the podcast. Today, I'm going to set up the bank account. Today, I'm going to set up the LLC. Today, I'm going to, establish, a trademark. Today, I'm going to write down my visions, write down, the dream. You have to set those micro steps up because if you don't, you will really miss out on the macro, which is the big opportunities that are meant for your life. It's those small steps. So every single day, how do you create the moment for yourself is being authentic, being uncomfortable, but being okay with your uncomfortability and setting up, lastly, those micro steps. Set up attainable things that you can accomplish, bro. You saying today, let's just be honest. And I've been there before too. We like to say it's just women, but I've been there before. It was like, man, I'm looking at the scale and it's like, man, I want to be so many LBs. I know I want to be there. I know I got summer body goals. And we say, oh, next month. Oh, next year. Oh, next summer. I missed the summer. But bro, you got to get up and go to the gym, dog. You got to lift. It's no way you get out of it. Like, it's no way. I was at the gym earlier today. I'm like, dang, man, I wish I had started early, but I'm here now. I'm here now. So, it's these thought process. You have to be real with yourself, man. And it's no way that just as, you create and you create and you sculpture your body, or you're in the gym, or you condition for a sport, that is the same way you have to treat the identity of your life, the identity of who you were born to be, the purpose of who you were born to be. You have to set those goals, and every day you got to get in the gym of life, and you got to take one step and lift another weight and lift another weight and be uncomfortable, but lift the next weight and make the phone call, lift the next weight and, go out on the audition, lift the next weight and make a decision that your son, your daughter is not going to be who, was before in your generational. You got to lift the next weight and break those chains and those cycles. Every day you got to lift a different weight. And before you know it, pretty soon, what seemed to be like impossible becomes the possible because you've been in that position.
I mean, brothers, tonight I'm eating good. I hope that you're at the table eating good, because this is brilliant information. It's stuff that, and I'll be honest with you, it's stuff that needs to be said. Um, and I think that it's effective. Hopefully, it is effective with those individuals who are watching us, and who will catch the replay as well. You said something, bro. I gotta go back really quick. I got to go back because you said something about men, and especially in particular in the African American community. I keep saying that because that's my experience. I know that well.
Yeah.
I say we, not necessarily me, but there are a lot of brothers who just will not get into the advancement conferences and just not go and really advance themselves and learn and network and grow alongside other men. I'm gonna tell you, I'm just telling you because you hit it right on the nail. I literally sent out information to a group of brothers and said, hey, come to Dallas. Come to Dallas. I want to pour into you. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. And you would not imagine, some brothers bit and they were like, let's go, let's do it. But you would not imagine how many other brothers came up with excuses.
Excuses. I know, bro. I know.
And these are some of the cats, and I'm just being honest. I know your schedule. bro. Bro, I know your schedule. You get what I'm saying? Here's the thing. We will self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage.
It is not just women. Sometimes women will get in a room. If it's a small room, big room, whatever is necessary to build and to advance, and they have that patience, right? And that's what I'm getting at. They have that patience to build brick by brick. If it means I need to go over here and get this level of it, impartation and advancement and education, I'll do that. If it means I gotta go and sit at the table with this group of people, and I'll do that. If it means, because they understand the necessity of, like what you said, brick by brick. How do we? Can you give me some tangible, some practical things that we can do as men to actually get in groups that will advance them? What like, do they need to be looking it up on Eventbrite, saying, are there some groups out there? I mean, what are some things that you would do as a man right now if you knew that you were trying to get to the next level and you needed to get yourself surrounded? What would you do?
Yeah, you know what? And this is, I want to preface this by saying this is not easy, guys. It is not easy. And this is why I keep using the word uncomfortable, because it is no other word. It is uncomfortable putting yourself in situations and environments where you are not in control. So, the first thing I'll add, like, a sub bullet B is like, you got to relinquish control. relinquish the control over you having the ability to, manipulate and define all the outcomes. You got to relinquish the control of the outcome and accept for what is in front of you in the moment, and honor what is in front of you in the moment. I think we all have community and villages. Some are larger than others, but oftentimes as men, we ignore the opportunities that are there, and so let's go both ways. I mean, the reality is, if we want to talk about, the spiritual realm, you belong to a church. If you don't belong to a church, there is a church located somewhere near you in a 20-mile radius. That might be somebody's avenue. Just going to a church and seeing, I didn't say you had to force yourself to be a part of anything, but just put yourself in an environment. If you're not going to church every Sunday, you don't have any type of community, hey, check and see what's there. If you were someone, because I know a lot of people who now go to eChurch or on eOnline, hey, you may want to go and see, are there any opportunities for e-fellowship or any groups or life groups or anything happening, even if you are online. Let's take that for all my spiritual folks who are out there, all my churchy folks, because some of you too churchy. That's another story. We're not going to go there tonight, but some of you so churchy, that's also why you are not seeing the fulfillment. I'm not talking about relationship with God. You are so churchy. I can't go to no networking.
Come on. I can't go to a mixer. Because
bro, you got to release that too. Because the space that you want, you can't tell God that you have a desire and you want to be something and stay in jail. You got to come out of the jail. You got to come out of the pit. Even Joseph is incredibly creative, as much as God organically gave him the ability to see the future and see beyond his status of who he was in the earth. But he didn't get to walk into it until he got brought down to the lowest of low. And I believe that God prophetically put his story for us to glean towards, to understand that it does not matter the environment that you are in. It is the decision that after you get out of the jail, are you going to walk into the fulfillment of who you were born to be? After you get out of the darkness, Joseph had the opportunity. He could either stay where he was at, or when he got out, he could become a boss. And he became a boss. And everybody that was in the pit was training him. So listen, that's that on that side. On the opposite side, I mean, Pastor Kenyon has shared some incredible things. He said Eventbrite. He said it a couple of times. Eventbrite definitely needs to sponsor Pastor Kenyon at this point. Let's just lay that out there.
Eventbrite, I know y'all listening. Come on, bro. I put your logo at the bottom, right there.
At the bottom. Come on, let's go, Eventbrite. We can definitely sell tickets there. But the reality is, Eventbrite is there. Social media is there. Please don't tell me you have, a platform like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm not talking about the number of followers you have, but you have access, TikTok, to see things that are going around you and going on around you. So tap into that possibility. And then lastly, here's what I want you to do. For all my tech bros, I'm a millennial. Don't get me wrong. But I want you to do something that may sound crazy, that may sound out of the box. Let's pick up our telephones. Look inside of your contacts and try to build genuine relationships. So many times we wait till the opportunity is up, or like, oh, I want to be, on this podcast, or oh, I want to do something, or oh, I want to do this. And you don't have a relationship with people, so you don't have anybody to talk to or lean to. You know people, but you don't have relationships because you have not built the relationship. So pick up your phone. Go through your database and call. I had somebody one time, a publicist. I was working with a publicist one time. Very brief story, Pastor Ken. I'm going to share this. I'll be done. I was working with the publicist one time, and they were a husband and wife duo. And I was taking a seminar course, and I had paid to be a part of this accelerated program. And we had these activities and all these things we were supposed to do. And one of the assignments that they had me do after releasing my book was, they said, hey, look, we want you to write down a list of 20 people that you know. And in this list of 20 people that you know, we don't want you to try to sell a book. We want you to write down 20 people that you are very confident that know Robert, and no matter what you said, they would support you. Not support a book, just support you. 20 people you could organically have a conversation with. And so I wrote down the 20 people. And then they said, we want you to take it on the left side of that piece of paper, and we want you to tap in and write 20 people. Some might cross over, 20 people who are influential in your eyes that you know. So they don't have to be people with huge money. They could be people with platforms. They could be people with big networks. They could be people that are just close to you and you admire them for being a hero, or et cetera, et cetera. But 20 people of influence, 20 people that you know, period. Out of those 40 people, we want you to make cold calls to and share the reality about your mission of your book. And I did the activity, and I really felt like at first I was saying, oh, well, how are these people going to put me on Good Morning America? How are these people going to, put me on the places I want to be on? How are these people, going to buy out the sets of my book? And the reality of the thought process they wanted me to see was, it's not about where I am trying to push myself into, but the power of my network already exists to take me somewhere. And so can we say that to somebody who's out there tonight? You need to write down your 40 people. I don't know who that is for, but you need to write that down. The people of influence who are not necessarily, they don't have to be global people, but who is influential in your eyes. And then write down 20 people that know your character, know who you are, and go after seeking something from those people. I didn't say selling something to it, but seeking after could be mentorship. It could be, further opportunities to engage. It could be, opportunities that they think that you should be a part of. But write down there, because you literally are so much closer to what you need than you are far away from it. So I just want to encourage you with that.
Y'all, nuggets and bars and all that stuff. Y'all should be so full. I mean, because we've literally given you both spiritual and practical things that you can take.
Yes.
Right now, I mean, I wish I could go on and on and on with this broadcast, because it really is good and necessary.
Yes.
I got to figure out. I'm going to be in prayer. I got to figure out how to get just a whole group of men, and then just have Robert come and pour into them, because it's necessary, it's needed. But for you who are on tonight, I hope you've been blessed. I'm hesitating to even end this. I hate to end it, but I know that we both have to move forward with what's going on in our lives. Listen, bro, uh, there's so many other things that we could talk about. You're probably going to be a frequent guest.
Okay, let's go. I will for you, Brody.
Yeah, I know. I definitely respect your time and your schedule. I will always do that. But
Yes.
I just, I have a knack for, if you haven't noticed by now, I have a knack for uh, intellectualism. I have a knack for people who are just smart, but who are spiritual at the same time. I identifying those people and hopefully connecting with them. And so I love the fact that God uses you in the way that He does.
Yes.
And so when I get interested, I find reasons to invite my friends to come and talk. And
Yeah.
so I appreciate you for coming to
Yeah.
talk
Thank
tonight.
you.
Why don't you leave the brothers with something that spiritually that God is showing, telling you to just pour into them right now? Maybe it's a prayer, maybe it's a few declarations. I don't know what it is, but
Yeah.
take a few moments really quick right here at the end, and just pour into them from a spiritual angle, encourage them,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of brothers that are listening and they've got destiny. We don't have time for them to fall short of what God has called them to do. So pour into them just for a minute.
It's so interesting, Pastor Kenyon, that be the last line that you say, which is, bro, we can't afford for you to lose in this season. We cannot afford, the kingdom cannot afford for you to fall by the wayside in this season. And we're not going to let it happen. And prophetically, I just believe and I stand in the gap to understand that your moment is now. This is your moment now. It is not tomorrow. It is not, in 2 weeks from now. It is not in 3 years when you have it all together, when you want to have it all together. It is not when you have the donors or the people or the situations or, the family, the hurt that's mended. Your moment is now. I dare to believe that God is going to use everything that is around you to catapult you, not tomorrow, but now, in your living room, in your dining room, in your car, at your job where you're working and you're like, I'm still here on overtime. We are talking to you that now is your divine moment. Now is your time. And the incredible thing about God is that we don't have to wait on God. God has already been waiting on you. He has literally everything in store for you. And I know it's so frustrating and it is uncomfortable because we don't see the manifestation of who we're supposed to be in moments, because God literally is situating the room just for you to show up how you were supposed to show up. He already knew you were going to be broken. He already knew you were going to mess up. He already knew that you were going to miss the mark for 20 years, for 30 years, and now you're in your 70s or in your 50s, and you are ready to be used in a different way. Or he already knew that you weren't going to have the perfect father. You weren't going to have the right database or setup. He already knew the generational curses that were going to be in front of you. So because he knew it, he has set you aside for a moment such as this. He has set you aside for a moment that is now. You are living in your now moment. So you don't have to take a back seat to the destiny that is meant for your life. You can make the decision that on tonight, in this incredible month of August, the month of 8 new beginnings, that you are going to walk into the fulfillment of your now moment. Can we release that over you tonight, my brothers? Can we decree and declare that your destiny ahead of you is not only greater, but it is expanding. It is not narrowing. It is allowing you to be all who you were called to be, all who you were born to step into. And it doesn't matter about who your grandfather was. It doesn't matter about who your daddy was. It doesn't matter about who your uncles were, but it is the destiny that is over your life. It is the moment that is now. There is a now anointing that is over you. And God is not putting you in a jail cell of persecution because of your past mistakes or your past doubt or your past fear or the past men in your bloodline, but because your DNA has been situated, has been ordained, has been strategically aligned for now. Nothing that comes in front of you will stop you. Nothing that comes in front of you will hinder you. Nothing that will come in front of you will delay the anointing of the impact of who you are supposed to be in this world. So I release tonight the authority of a warrior. I release tonight the authority of who you were born to be. I release tonight the authority of you owning the destiny over your life, that no one, no demon, no situation, no problem, no circumstance will stop you from tapping into who you were supposed to be. I speak to the lawyer on the inside of you to legislate where you're supposed to go. I begin to speak to the doctor on the inside of you to begin to heal all those things that need to be healed. I begin to speak to the creative on the inside of you to begin to orchestrate and move and open up doors that other people would never be able to get into. But because of the creative identity and anointing that is on your life, that every door would be open, that nothing, no good thing would be withheld from you in this season. I speak to the now anointing on the inside of you, King, and I call for you to come forth and live. I call for you to come forth and walk in boldness. And I call for you to come forth and not take second best. We're not going back. We're moving forward because of the destiny that is on your life. We believe all these things. And lastly, I stand in the gap for you tonight for your vulnerability. I stand in the gap as someone who's experienced hurt, as someone who's experienced a doubt and fear and depression and just the reality of feeling the weight on your shoulders, but still having to show up and be the man who you believe that you were called to be. I speak to the young boy on the inside of you. I speak to the vulnerability on the inside of you. And I say, be released. Be free to be who you are called to be. Be free to be able to allow your vulnerability not to withhold you from the greatness that God has for you. You will not be who they said you would be. you will be everything that you are supposed to be in this now season, because now the world is ready for you. Now the world needs you. And now more than anything else, my bro, you need yourself. And we speak to it. We decree it. We declare it. And we release all these things over your life. And there's nothing holding you back, because who the sun sets free is free indeed. And today, my bro, the sun is shining so bright on you. I love y'all so much. And God bless y'all.
Yo, y'all put me some fire emojis right there in the chat. That was amazing. That was
Yes.
powerful. I felt that.
Yes.
I even received a lot of that for myself. Thank you.
Good.
God is really, I think, in this moment,
Jesus.
really trying to pour into men and build up men in this hour,
Yes.
to encourage them to move in the fullness of their destiny, their kingship.
Yes.
There's a lot of agendas out here that have tried to make men doubt themselves, feel inadequate, feel unnecessary,
Yes.
and I'm just on a I'm just on a war path, if you will,
Come on.
to remind every kingdom man that they are kingdom men and they are kings, and that there is destiny on their life. And bro, you helped me accomplish that tonight. Thank you so
Thank
much
you, my
for
brother.
your time, for your efforts, and all of the things that you have poured out on
Thank
tonight. I pray that God restores you, replenishes you, and He
thank you, bro.
continues to make you fruitful, bro.
Yes.
Fruitful in
Let's
every single
go.
thing that you do. Listen, guys, thank you so much. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bro, you got to tell your brothers, you got to tell your friends. We are here. We're talking about things that matter to men and that's necessary for men to receive. Listen, I'm excited about some news that's going to be coming up. So I need y'all watching my page. Watch it, watch it, watch it. I got some very special news for the brothers, that I will be sharing in the days ahead. So y'all keep your eye out on my pages. Bro, I love you
I
with
love
the
you,
love of
dude.
Jesus Christ. All right. Listen,
Yes.
we'll see you guys next week at the same time, same place. My name is Kenyon Ardetley. This has been He Talks. We'll see you.